Guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you guys saw my grocery haul for my budget meals, I am going to show you what we did with some of that stuff. So the first night I made a lasagna soup. I actually was planning on using the bow tie pasta that I got for this, but I found a package of tortellini in my freezer and I thought that would just be way more delicious because it's tortellini. So I think I have this recipe on here somewhere. If not, I will share it with you guys. The next night I pulled out some taco meat that we had left from Christmas as a leftover, and I used these corn tortillas to make some taquitos. So I have oil in my pan here, and I eventually did get this oil hot enough to where it was like sizzling, but I'm not actually trying to fry these taquitos. I just want to get them softened and kind of covered with oil so that whenever I bake them, they get nice and crispy. If you want the recipe for the taco meat that I am using as a filler here, then I will leave that in the description box below. It's a very simple shredded beef recipe. But basically what I'm doing here is just heating the tortilla through so that it doesn't break whenever you roll it up. I'm going to drain as much of that oil off. You can use melted lard. I'm just using vegetable oil here because I had a little bit left from making tamales. And then you're going to, you don't want to overfill, but you want enough. So I'm just putting a good amount of my meat mixture in there, and then I like to let it sit on the plate just for a second so it cools off, because these can get pretty hot while I put my next tortilla in the oil. I really love this recipe. You can use tons of different things for a filler. So you could do, I have shredded beef here, but you could do pork or chicken. You could do cheese. You can do beef and bean and cheese, lots and lots of different options. And it's kind of just another handheld way to make a quick dinner. So I'm actually going to make, I ended up making enough of these that I used all of that beef in that bowl. So it was a lot, but what I did was half of them that I made, I froze, and then the rest of them that I made, I went ahead and baked for dinner. So once you get these all completely filled up and your pan completely filled up and rolled up and all put together, you can put them directly in the freezer just like this, not touching, which is what I did, until they're frozen solid completely through. And then you can take them out and put them in a Ziploc bag or vacuum seal them, which is what I did. Or you can bake them immediately. And because they already have that oil on them, they're going to get nice and crunchy in the oven. So whether you're baking them immediately or baking them out of the freezer, you're going to set your temperature to 425 and bake them for about half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, turning them halfway through. This is one of those things that it does take some time, like making pancakes or something, where you're standing at your stove and you're just doing a little bit at a time, but it's definitely worth it. This is one of my family's favorite meals. And I really love it as a way to use up some of the taco meat or whatever filling that I've made beforehand. So if I make tamales and we have a lot of extra filling afterwards, I always end up making taquitos. So I just put them in the freezer just like this on parchment paper so that they don't stick. And once they're frozen through, then I'll separate them and put them in a bag. And then this is how we had them for dinner that night. So we had my avocado sauce, which is super easy to make, especially in a blender like this. We had some queso cheese dip that we had left over from Christmas as well. And then these are our taquitos all baked up. They're very crunchy. Super delicious. And these are our chips that we had left over from Christmas. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you put stale chips in the oven, they get nice and crispy again. So that's what we did. And then I made a big pot of rice cooked in bone broth. So the next day for lunch, I had baked one of the chickens, and I pulled the meat off of it, and I decided that we were going to have chicken salad for lunch. So I like Miracle Whip in mine. My husband prefers mayonnaise, but I'm a Oklahoma girl, and man, that Miracle Whip just has that zing to it. So I started with a bunch of shredded chicken, a couple cups of it, and some pecans, and added in some Miracle Whip, enough to just kind of coat everything, but not, be gross. And then I just gave this a good stir. One thing that I really like to add to chicken salad anytime that I'm making it too is garlic powder. I like to add some salt and pepper to it. Lemon zest is really good. If you like cranberries, you can add that into it. But chicken salad is definitely a great way to use up some extra chicken, which you can see I had a lot of. And then the last dinner that I'm going to share with you guys is roast chicken and mashed potatoes with some of the vegetables that we got. I make roast chicken very often. I have shown it on here many times. It is like the easiest thing ever to make, and by far one of my family's favorite things, but I love how versatile it is and what all it gives me, because I don't just get the chicken for that meal. We usually have chicken left over that we can make into chicken salad or add to sandwiches or wraps or whatever. And then we also use the bones to make bone broth, which normally I can, but we've been using so much bone broth, I just have been putting it in a gallon container and keeping it in my refrigerator. So that's been really handy to have. You want to make sure that you pull out this bag inside your chicken. That's like the gizzards, the innards, the organ meat. You definitely don't want to cook that in there. There's a lot you can do with those. Cooking it in that bag in the chicken is not one of them. You'll notice that I put butter on a plate here instead of just getting it directly out of my butter dish as I needed it. And that is because my hands are covered in chicken gunk. And I definitely don't want to cross-contaminate. So I am not going to put my hands in butter that we're going to use for anything else. So it just makes way more sense to take it directly out of the butter dish and put it on a plate. That way, anything that doesn't end up getting used, which I'm pretty sure I used all of this, will get tossed. We're not going to use it for anything else. So I put my fingers in between the skin and the meat just to open that up, and then I'm shoving some butter inside of there. This is salted butter, so it's going to be nice and flavorful in there. And that's going to really help keep that meat nice and moist and tender, and it adds so much flavor. It is so delicious when you do this. And then rather than like sticking my hand all the way down in there, I'm just kind of pushing on the top. So I had extra, so I'm just going to throw that on top anywhere that the butter is not hitting on the inside. You want to make sure you wash up real good anytime that you're touching anything with raw chicken. Make sure that you're washing your hands with soap and water for a good amount of time, because again, you want to be super careful to not cross-contaminate. You can get food poisoning so easily from raw chicken. So make sure that you are washing your hands thoroughly whenever you are cooking with that. So even though that butter is salted, I'm still gonna add salt to the top because salt is flavor. So I'm adding some kosher salt here, just a good sprinkling. Make sure that you get some inside the cavity as well, where you pulled that bag out of. And then some pepper. And then I always add granulated garlic or garlic powder to the top of mine too. We make this roast chicken about once a week. It's a family favorite and it's very easy, and we just get a lot out of it. And then my girls made some mashed potatoes. They are very good at peeling and chopping. So we had some delicious mashed potatoes with cream and butter, our yummy roast chicken that, man, this chicken was one of the best we've made, some einkorn bread, and we had pulled out some of those baby carrots. So that's what we ate for dinner this week, guys.